Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is a beautiful day out. It's not as warm as last week, but damn, it is nice. When this show's over, go outside, but wait until it's over. We're going to get around the league, talk about last night's playoff matchups, and preview the ones that are happening tonight, make our predictions. We also have some Hawks news around the league. Before we get to that, make sure you smash that like button on the YouTube page. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube page as well. Podcast listeners, follow, subscribe, all those great things. And if you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we would greatly appreciate it. Fellas, we are in day 2 of the Blackhawks offseason. And just like last summer, somehow we always get something to talk about.
The motto last year was give it 24 hours.
Yeah,
and
really.
When we wrapped yesterday's show and we were sitting here doing our like little 1 to 2 minute post-show decompression, Greg said, all right, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? I said, give it 24 hours.
We'll find something.
And here we are, 24 hours later with something to talk about.
Thanks to our good friends, Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick.
Yeah.
Was enjoying their latest episode of 32 thoughts while out enjoying a nice walk this morning. And I had to chuckle along the way for some of the things they were throwing against the wall when it comes to our friends, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, do you want to do your disclaimer now?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should.
I will do the disclaimer now. I know we have a lot of new listeners throughout the course of the season that might not have been with us since March of last year. We have a rule here. We have a jar where we decided, because when we first started, so many people wanted to keep on bitching about the last general manager. And we said we're not going to say his name anymore on this show because he's gone and he can't hurt us anymore. So anytime his name was spoken on this show, we had to throw in $1 into the jar.
And we bought pizza with it.
Yes. And those are still in effect, but we have to make an amendment to that rule to save us money today. The rule is you can, so that's where the he who shall not be named, we gave him the Voldemort treatment.
Yes.
So if you've been listening to a show and you joined us maybe midway through this year and you hear he who shall not be named, that's who we're referring to, the former general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks. But because of today's discussion about what's going on in Pittsburgh, we're going to have to say his name.
Yeah.
But we have made an amendment to the rules because rules are always meant to be changed. They're not set in concrete or written in stone. We still no longer can say his name in context to the Blackhawks, but if his name comes up in the context of another team, it is okay because we're not bitching about him with the Blackhawks. So with that being said, Stan Bowman and the Penguins are connected. Kind of, sort of. Not like it's not a real thing at this point, but it's just spitballing names of who, according to Elliot Friedman, the Pittsburgh Penguins are out there looking for their new general manager. They're looking for new everything, except Mike Sullivan. They love Mike Sullivan. They're owned by Fenway now, owners of the Boston Red Sox. They said their scope is going to be they're large, and they're going to drag a giant net across the hockey world and see what sticks. And in that context, they named a whole bunch of different people, some of the usual suspects, another name connected to the Blackhawks that was kind of surprising. But then he said, Elliot Friedman kind of pondered, didn't say it was going to happen, but just says, I wonder if the if the Penguins will seek out permission to talk to Stan Bowman. Permission, i.e., the league kind of has to improve. Like the league has
to reinstate him.
Yeah, the league. Same thing with Joel Quenneville. So it's like not even a year later, and the name is already coming back in. I think he gave some reasons why he thinks it might, because of the connection to USA Hockey, some of the connections to other things there. All right,
I got you.
All right, I'm confused, but yeah. So, but if I'm the Penguins, and you just fired the last regime for holding on to the past as hard as they can, why the F would you bring in that guy? Because his biggest problem here, besides not being able to develop any really consistent young talent, is holding on to the past too long.
Well, hey, if they want to extend Chris Letang for 10 more years beyond the 47 remaining,
That's
and
future Arizona Coyote Chris Letang.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know who could be looking around the league right now and looking at the state of the Blackhawks and saying that that's the guy they want.
Yeah, I can't imagine a team like the Penguins who looks destined to have to start things over to a certain degree. Maybe not the same kind of start over that the Blackhawks are experiencing, but nothing. Don't take it off the table. I wouldn't want, if I'm a Penguins fan, I wouldn't want Stan Bowman to be the person at the helm for that, because you look at the job he did, quote unquote, rebuilding in Chicago, where it lasted a couple of months and you had a couple of young players play, but then you did that for one season, one abbreviated season, and then you go into, we're going to get all these guys in free agency, we're going to, make all these moves, and just kind of abandon the plan.
Right.
Like that's why we're here now with Kyle Davidson and his, new, almost completely new staff. So look, if the Penguins want that problem, go for it. You can take it and have fun.
Yeah.
Like that's I wish that upon the Penguins if that is what they so choose to do. Some of the other names that they mentioned though seem like they make a lot more sense for a team that's going in that direction.
Well, if they want Bowman, I'm all for it. And in fact, I'm gonna just give me a second.
Yeah,
you go do that. No, I'm fine with it. As somebody who has been a Penguin hater since 1992, you want to bring on Stan Bowman, I'll drive him to the airport.
Yeah.
Like, no problemo. There we go.
Jay is packing up the jar in a meat box that shall not be named.
They're gonna think it's meat.
It's just a meathead.
2 Penguins.
There you go.
There you go.
Write it in Sharpie.
For those of you who are
I'm sure that will land in Pittsburgh just fine.
It's going.
To the people listening on the audio only version, Jay put the fine jar in a box and wrote to Pittsburgh on it so that he could
shipping
be
out. It's shipping out to Pittsburgh
with love.
It might work though, because yesterday I had to send my tax return.
Yeah.
And the address was Illinois Department of Revenue, Springfield, Illinois. There's no physical address. There's no.
I'm sure the mailman knows where it is down there.
I guess so.
It's probably a really big building with a dollar sign on it.
Yeah. Exactly. To
Usually.
Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Here's your Santa Claus.
Here's your
North Pole.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think in the general conversation that those guys were having about what Pittsburgh is going to try and do is that they're looking towards maybe a more newer age thinking,
An
analytical mind for GM. I don't know why he's coming up in that conversation. But who did come up in the conversation between those two on 32 Thoughts that was very interesting and is connected to the Blackhawks currently is assistant general manager Jeff Greenberg, who just this year got into hockey and front office, the front office for the Blackhawks. He was one of the people interviewed for the open general manager position alongside Kyle Davidson and a number of others. Ultimately, Davidson got the job on the full-time basis, but Greenberg was still brought along to be an assistant GM and has been put in charge of a ton of analytical initiatives within the team that from everything that we've learned about what his role is and what he's kind of overlooking from the front office and from ownership, it's not a one season project. It seems like it's a long-term build. So if Greenberg were to not be part of that, that would throw a real wrench into the Blackhawks plans, because it seems like what he's doing is going to be integral to communication within the organization and continuity with their development plan, which so far what the Blackhawks have been doing to try and streamline their communication with their development staff and with their prospects and with the organization between Chicago and Rockford and Indy seems like it's been going well. So it would be a big blow to the Blackhawks if Greenberg were to, for some reason, leave for the Pittsburgh job.
Well, he's literally like physically developing their development program. When I say program, I don't mean like this figurative, like literally something on a phone,
A computer program.
Program that is going to help them with their analytics.
It's like an internal
like a
app.
proprietary thing, like the Red Sox had Carmine with Theo Epstein. I think the Cubs called it Ivy or something like that.
Yeah.
This would be the Blackhawks version of that, which I think would automatically make it the most advanced thing in hockey, because there's probably a couple teams that are up there analytically, but if you're taking someone from the Cubs analytical team, they're about as analytical as it gets.
And obviously Pittsburgh being owned by the Fenway Group, they know Theo Epstein, and Theo Epstein was
high on Greenberg.
A big fan of Greenberg.
That's where the connection was made. That's where Elliott connected the dots, saying Epstein Theo Epstein still has a good relationship with the Fenway Group. Greenberg was, kind of a protege of his, and he's high on him. So maybe Theo gets in their ear about that. It wasn't, hey, the Penguins are going to call the Blackhawks and ask about Jeff Greenberg, but it's just a name, a lot of speculation at this point. I think, but then Elliott also said that a lot of times, like teams, if they're not serious about like actually hiring him to give him a promotion to a general manager job, teams will just say, no, thank you.
Right.
We're going to deny permission. Maybe he doesn't even want that at this point. Maybe he wants to see this thing out. Who knows? There's so many names. Listen, if Kyle Dubas becomes available, I think that's who the Penguins are going to jump all over. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see maybe as quickly as 6 or 7 games from now he'll be available.
Yeah, who knows?
I think if he's available, that's who the Penguins are going to jump on, because they're going to want to get a guy that Penguin fan base has gotten used to a high standard.
Yeah.
And they're just not going to want some retread. They did that. Didn't work. Jason Botterhill's a guy that's got Pittsburgh connections who could be in the running there. I think if it's not Kyle Dubas, I think another guy that interviewed for the Hawks job last year, Eric Tulsky of the Hurricanes, he's another one of these analytic guys.
He seems like he's always
He's like the
up.
next general manager of like. I think he finally gets his gig there if it's not Kyle Dubas.
Well, so a couple things about the Greenberg thing. I think the Hawks are okay because I would imagine for him to accept a role with another team, it would have to be a promotion.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to name him like president of hockey operations or general manager. He doesn't have enough experience in the game to do
One
that.
season being an assistant GM in hockey, I don't think you give him the keys to the Pittsburgh.
Right,
Penguins.
and Greenberg himself has even said, I got to kind of learn the league better. I've been paying attention to baseball. So unless they were ready to name him like the hockey czar, I don't think he's going to leave. It is nice to see the league looking forward and hiring out of the box a little bit instead of just rehashing the same old goons that have been doing this for 2 decades, 3 decades. And it's also encouraging that in 1 year, what the Hawks are doing is getting the attention of people around the league. I think that's really encouraging, because like we said, if people are, paying attention to what the Hawks are doing to the level that we are and the level that people around the league are, you see what they're doing and you see that it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
If you're kind of watching from afar, like, their record sucks, they got rid of Kane and Taves, they're idiots. Okay, well, you're not really paying attention to what's happening. The league they're noticing the Hawks are doing good things, and they're going to start getting poached. It's a good thing they've got a big development staff.
Yeah, right. And you think back to the GM search that the Blackhawks went through, and Greenberg was one of the final 3. And I think we were all surprised about that.
We've been told that he was the pick of someone in the front office.
Yeah, he was a favorite of someone's and ended up going with Davidson in the end. But so, I mean, he definitely has something that, people want to hear, people enjoy hearing for what he envisions. And yeah, he's had this season alongside Kyle Davidson and a number of the other GMs assistant GMs that the Blackhawks have. He's working with them. So, I mean, this is a good start for him in the hockey world, I think. And he's definitely coming into a place where, he probably has the ability to extend his voice a little bit, because there's not really someone in that front office group that is that long-standing, like Norm McIver's there, but I think he's there because he gels well with Kyle Davidson, and like that's a good relationship that those two have, which he didn't have.
He's his hockey dad
with the previous GM. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So yeah, I think this, Greenberg's in a good situation here. It's not shocking that his name has come up, but I would be surprised if the Penguins went that way and gave him that major promotion.
I could see them looking for an interview because it makes sense for the Penguins, a new ownership group. Bring in as many people as you can just to get info.
Mm-hmm.
See what other teams are doing.
That's what the Blackhawks
did.
The
Blackhawks did. Yeah. It's a smart thing to do. Bring in guys. Some may argue that that's just a waste of time for some of these candidates. You're pulling, you're yanking their chain a little bit.
Yeah.
But hey, if you got a chance to get some information on what other teams are doing, if it's there, take it. That's how you get better. When okay, these guys are doing this, and they're really good, and these guys are doing this, and they kind of suck, so maybe we should lean more to doing this than doing this.
Yeah.
The league is always evolving on how things are judged, how players are scouted, how teams are built. It's ever changing. Everybody wanted to go back to when the St. Louis Blues won, everybody wanted to go back to the big bruising teams, and now we're kind of switching away from that again. So getting your thumb on the pulse of what the other 31 teams are doing, it's a smart idea.
Yep.
It's being a good team. It's being a smart team and trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
And if the Penguins ownership group envisions some sort of rebuild coming, why not get the thoughts and ideas from someone who is in the front office of a team currently doing the exact same thing? Like that just kind of makes sense to me from that perspective. So we'll see what happens. It's mid-April, so there's a lot of off-season still to go. So it'll be interesting. The other little bit of nugget of former Blackhawks front office kind of discussion that came up today between the same two guys, Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman. This time it was on today's Jeff Merrick show, was some news that former player Doug Wilson and former GM of the San Jose Sharks for a very long time, his health is improving. He stepped away before this season because of health issues, but his health is improving. And the idea is that he's getting back to a place where he would want to get back to work, get back into the hockey world. And there was no basis of backed up information or anything from the two of them. They were just kind of spitballing, but I thought it was an interesting conversation that Merrick brought up the idea of if Doug Wilson wants to get back into the game, get back into some sort of front office role, wouldn't it make sense for him to have a reunion with Chicago, be put into some sort of a higher level consultant, senior consultant position for Kyle Davidson in a front office role, because Davidson is a first year, 1 year into being a GM, and having a guy like Doug Wilson come back and be around, wouldn't that be a good idea? And I just thought that was interesting because he's had such he's done almost as much in a front office role as he's done in his playing career. Yeah. So he's definitely someone that I think, a lot of Blackhawks fans have a connection to, but because he's been with the Sharks for so long, it's like you forget sometimes about Doug Wilson.
So I'm of two minds on this. I think that obviously bringing in someone with that much experience around the league is a smart thing. We just talked about it, picking brains, getting some other ideas. I just don't want anyone there that Rocky is going to be tempted to side with or team up with, right? Like, I don't want that former player who Rocky knew from his childhood or whatever as a peer growing up and like, oh, that's a Blackhawks legend, so I'm going to listen to what he says instead of what Kyle Davidson says. If it's a collaborative group effort like it has been for the first year here, great. If Doug Wilson's another voice in the room like Norm McIver, great. But if we get the whole he who shall not be named Al McIsaac, this guy's reporting to McDonough, and they're kind of pulling away from each other, like, battling, butting heads, like behind the scenes, that's toxic. I don't want that. And if it's a former player and they just want him around to shake hands and be in the camera, and cool, great. And if it is going to be Kyle Davidson is your boss and what he says goes, come on in. But I am afraid of the influence of a experienced former Hawk to kind of muddy the waters a little bit. And if things don't, let's say, as an example, maybe Frank Nazar doesn't pan out, right? And then Rocky starts to get impatient because the rebuild's taking too long. I don't want him to pull the plug on this thing because Doug Wilson is right there. Mm-hmm. I trust what Kyle Davidson's doing. Will it work? We don't know. But the plan is sound. I don't want anything there that's going to be a temptation for Rocky to say, no, I don't like this. It's hurting my pocketbooks too much. The arena's too empty. The rebuild's taking too long. You're fired. Doug, get in here and take over. I don't want that. I don't want that threat. So I'm not saying that if they hire him, that's how it will be. But I would be fearful that temptation would be there for Rocky.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Knowing the kind of long-standing, like you said, like long-term or a long time ago former player, it's a consideration to have for sure.
And yeah, I'm not saying don't ever hire somebody like that. And I think there's probably people listening to saying, well, wait a minute, Doug Wilson's a proven GM and has done this that's true. Mm-hmm. That's all true. And if the Hawks were ready to win and didn't have a GM and it was between inexperienced guy or Doug Wilson would be the guy. But for this time and place, for what the Hawks are doing and what they need to do and the mindset they need to have, I want Kyle Davidson because he has shown he is ruthless, he is heartless, he does not care about the past, and all he wants to do is the best thing to get the Hawks to a championship. Yeah. So I don't want that plan interfered with. I don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a guy coming in here trying to get his way to be the next general manager. You know, as you mentioned, you know, the last few years of the last regime was like a lot of infighting, a lot of disagreements, not a whole lot getting done, and those types of things. Yeah, I don't. If Doug Wilson is here to be just that, a consultant, a team player, a guy that knows the food chain and wants to just help out, and maybe that's his way to get another GM job, to be like, hey, I'm back, I'm healthy, yeah. I can prove I can do this job again, I can take on the workload, you know, that's great. There's I don't see a downside to that, but you're right. If he's here to start using his... Start dropping the I'm Doug Wilson card every chance he gets, yeah, and to try and take over. That's just not, especially this early in the process. It's just it's not worth it.
To be clear, my concern is not with Doug Wilson. My concern's with Rocky.
Yeah,
like I don't think that Doug Wilson would come in here looking like, all right, I'm going to take this kid down and take his job. I don't think so. I think he's trying to get back in the game. It's a franchise he knows and loves. It's a good chance to get back into Chicago, back in the minds of Hawks fans. But that temptation for the owner, that scares me. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. I just sorry. Yeah. Like, don't bring Dale Talon back. Don't do, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want anyone that's going to derail what they're doing because of an owner's impatience. We've seen Rocky over in recent years turn on a dime. Mm. At the town hall, he turned into a fire-breathing dragon in a blink. I don't want a bad night at the United Center to have Rocky Wirtz flip over a table and say, Davidson, you're out. Give me Doug Wilson. He's right here. Yeah. I think there is a percentage chance that happens, even if it's not the intention of the hire at the time, and even if it's not what Doug Wilson has in mind. If Doug Wilson's there and Rocky fires Kyle and says, you're the guy, Doug Wilson's going to say, okay.
Right.
Right? Like, why wouldn't you?
You don't want your GM looking over his shoulder because his boss just hired his replacement. Well, he's still there.
Ask Dennis Savard about that.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
It's especially this early. Like, if we're 4 or 5 years into this, if this was year 4 or 5 and we're the Red Wings still not making the playoffs, then okay. Maybe that puts a fire under, lights a fire under him and says, okay, hey, we've got this guy right here, right now. We'll give him your job in a heartbeat.
Something's got to happen. Yeah.
It's way too early for that, but again, this was just freedom.
Yeah, just speculation.
It's just speculation.
Just an interesting.
You want to bring him into the organization and add him to the mix. Yeah, I am okay with that, but your concerns are 100% valid given the Rockies' past. Yeah, Rocky past.
Very nice. Hey, we ready to move on to the next stuff?
Yes.
All right. So that was all the Hawks adjacent information. But if you're looking to celebrate this wonderful weather, good way to do that is to take yourself outside with a nice Goose Island beer right there in your hand. There they go, flying overhead. Goose Island, they are the proud beer sponsor of us here at CHGO, and they've been Chicago's beer since 1988, and they have a deep and talented roster, chock full of delicious beers. You have the Goose IPA, a 6-time medal winner at the Great American Beer Fest, always in style with a citrus aroma and a bold hop finish. They got the Tropical Beer Hug, part of their Beer Hug IPA series. It is a 9.9% ABV, so that's going to take care of you nice this summer. Ooh. Dangerously easy to drink, it says. The Full Pocket Pills, an everyday beer. What the brewers are drinking, the beer brewers, not the Milwaukee Brewers. The beer brewers are drinking. And, of course, you see it on our table, the golden can, the 312, the staple of their lineup. Grab ultra-fresh brewery-exclusive beers at Goose Island's original brew house that is located on Clybourne Ave in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer, and we have a big event coming up later this month. Not us personally, the Blackhawks crew, but the Bears crew, CHGO Bears crew. The NFL Draft is coming up later this month, and we here at CHGO are going to have a big Bears draft party bash. Join us at Joe's on Weed Street Thursday and Friday. I believe that is April, as I open my calendar, 27th and 28th. Yes, 27th and 28th. Joe's on Weed Street. We will have night 1 and night 2 of the draft, live shows with the CHGO Bears crew. Get your tickets at allchgo.com/events. Tickets will include an all-inclusive premium drink package featuring Goose Island beers and cocktails. A lot of fun. The draft day, going to be a lot of fun there. I will be there for night 1. It's going to be a good time. Bears in a similar position to the Blackhawks in their rebuilding for the future. They've got a couple more pieces than the Blackhawks have right now, so it's a little bit more exciting, but it's going to be a good time. They got the 9th overall pick after trading the 1st overall pick with the Carolina Panthers. But hey, it's things are looking good for the Bears. So that draft party is going to be a lot of fun. Joe's on Weed Street, April 27th and 28th, partnering up with Goose Island as well. So going to be a good time.
Historic night in Bears history.
Historic.
Be there.
Yes.
Should be there. And remember, Die Hard save 20% on all of our events.
Of course.
So jump in there and do it.
Well, while you're sitting outside enjoying one of those delicious Goose Island beers from their deep and talented roster of brews, you should be protecting your eyeballs from the sun, and that's where our friends at Shady Rays come in, as they have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that is even better than any expensive pair that I've worn. I've been a customer of Shady Rays long before they joined up here at CHGO. They have durable frames, extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. They make driving a lot clearer, that's for sure. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day 1, they told us they'll send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you make your purchase. And you're going to do a lot of great things with every purchase as well, because together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the United States through the Shady Rays Impact Program. That includes everything from building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS with the outdoor adventure of a lifetime. Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others just like it now and for years to come. And as always, if you don't like your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for absolutely no charge within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And their deal for our lovely CHGO listeners, if you go to shadyrays.com and use the promo code CHGO, you are going to get 50% off any order that includes 2 or more pairs of their awesome sunglasses. That's buy one, get one free, essentially. So the more you buy, the more you save. Try for yourself, the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
And before we get into the playoff conversation, one little disclaimer. I think we all agree that Stan Bowman, or Joel Quenneville should probably not be allowed to coach or manage in this league again. But it's the NHL, and that's not going to happen, so it's a waste of breath. But that's acknowledged. I don't think either should be allowed to participate. There's got to be consequences.
Me saying if the Penguins hire him would make me happy, that's called sarcasm.
Yeah.
I hope Stan Bowman never gets another job in hockey again. I don't think we need to bring up the reasons why he got fired every time we talk about him. We know that. He deserved it. Joel Quenneville, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't deserve to have another NHL job ever again, but we know how the NHL works.
Yep.
And it's only a matter of time. They'll probably both be back, and I won't like it anyway, but yeah. But if it's going to be a team that does it, I hope it's a team that I don't like the Penguins.
Well, there you go.
Quenneville spoke at the AHL Coaches Symposium.
That's really cool. Let's start getting that culture in at the AHL level.
Yep, they'll be back.
Yeah, they'll be back. It's the NHL, like you all said. I agree with everything you guys said. It's bullshit that both of them could be coming back, given the roles that they played. But this is the operations of the league. This is how things work in an old boys club, and that's what the NHL is.
In fairness, it's not just the NHL. It's how it works everywhere. When powerful white men make mistakes, they fail upwards, usually.
Especially when you...
So they're canceled, and then they go on tour at Madison Square Garden like Louis C.K.
Yeah.
And on and on and on. You
go
can make
away for a year.
After example.
People will forget. They'll welcome you back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
rinse and repeat.
It seems to happen a lot in the NHL, but mostly because it is dominated by old white men. But yes, it is it's a societal problem, but especially amplified in the NHL. And if anyone had ever had any doubt if either of those people would be back, it's pretty much a guarantee. They'll find their way back in the league in no time.
Yeah.
No time.
As soon as the heat is down low enough, they'll make their return.
Anyway, last night was a crap ton of fun.
Hey,
for some people, yeah,
it was.
Oilers fans would disagree.
Yeah, we want to start with that game.
Let's start there. Yeah,
I was super impressed with the Edmonton Oilers until I turned the game off and went to bed. I was ready to tweet, "These aren't your father's Oilers anymore. They're playing physical. They've got skill. They're playing defense. They've got a goalie that can make some big saves." And when the Minnesota-Dallas game went into overtime, I was like, "Man, I'm pretty tired. This is only Monday night." Flipped over to the Oilers. It was 3-1 with 11 minutes to go. I was like, this game's over. I'm going to bed. Woke up this morning and was like, oh, Oilers.
Yeah.
The Kings, I think everybody's making a huge deal that Connor McDavid was held off the score sheet. Good luck trying to do that in game 2.
Hey, Mikey Anderson had his number last night. He was shutting down McDavid. Mikey Anderson played great in that game against McDavid. So props to him. But you're right. It's not going to last.
Do it for 7
and that's
games,
my thing.
Yeah.
If I'm an Oilers fan, I look
worried.
at that game. I'm not worried. This is why I said what happened yesterday. For those that listen, I thought the Oilers would get off to maybe they lose the first game or two. Everyone would freak out, and then boom, they are the better team. There's no doubt about it. It is a matter of when Connor McDavid is going to catch fire, not if. You already got 2 goals from Leon Draisaitl. The Oilers are going to be fine. Yeah, and props to the Kings, right? Like, they're doing their best. But I felt like that entire game, the Kings were hanging on for dear life.
They got a lucky bounce.
To Adrian Kempe.
That second Kempe goal was just right place, right time.
Awesome
Great shot.
Oh, my God.
Great shot. Couldn't have put it in a better spot. And then, this mad scramble. They had a 6-on-4 advantage at the end, and then the puck's just laying there, and there's Anze Kopitar doing what Anze Kopitar does.
Yep.
Boom, swipes it in. And in overtime, the Oilers thought they scored, but they didn't. And it's just, I'm not worried about the Oilers. They're my pick to win the cup. Connor McDavid is going to come out in game 2 and say, okay, you held me pointless last night. F you. Watch this.
It's not going to happen again.
Here's a 6-point game.
That happened 7 times during the regular season. Connor McDavid was held scoreless, no points, only 7 games. He had 4 or more points in 10 games. So he had more at least games of 4 points than he did of 0 points. McDavid is getting 5 points in game 2. He's scoring a hat trick and assisting on Draisaitl's other 2 goals. And they're going to win 5-1.
Yeah.
This is what happened last year, where McDavid would have a down game for McDavid standards, and then the next game he would take over and be like, that's why people were considering giving him the Conn Smythe, even though the team got eliminated, he led the postseason in points last year and only played 3 rounds.
By the way, how I tweeted last night, every time he's on the ice, something magical happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't end up in the back of the net, but we remember the Hawks beat them in that bubble series, but that series was terrifying. Every time he was out there, he was a threat to score.
He had that first period play where he went through 3 guys like they were standing still, and
that won't be the last time that happens.
And somehow Korpisalo stopped the puck.
And the Stars are going to get, the Kings are going to get exhausted from, seriously, mentally exhausted from trying to keep up with that guy.
Because eventually, eventually he's going to get you.
Yeah.
And on the other ways, if you're going to put all your energy in getting him, then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to kill you. Or Evander Kane is going to kill you. So, it's one game. Great win by the Kings. Not saying it's impossible for them to win this series, but do it 2 games in a row, and then you've impressed me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is still the Oilers series, but Kings are not going to go away. They are an improved team from last year, and this was a matchup last year that provided a lot of great games. So yeah, we're going to get more of what we saw last night, but I agree. I don't think there's any slowing down McDavid enough to top them in this series that the Kings can do.
And I don't think the Kings have enough offense to get in a scoring race with them.
No, you don't want to do that.
With Kevin Fiala is going to be out for any more time.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
But good on Philip Deneau too. I mean, he's out there. Every time Philip Deneau is out there against McDavid, it's making me hate that trade. But he should not be named even more. That was one of the worst trades in Blackhawks history. I don't want to even talk about it. Let's move on to the next.
Let's move on. Well, the other overtime game.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Dallas.
Minnesota.
God, is that going to be a fun 7-game series?
Well, I picked it to go to 7, but I think
totally
they're not going to have enough players to make it to 7 games. That series, it is brutal. That feels like those 2 teams have hated each other for a long time. Like there's an instant, playoff feel to that series from the drop of the puck. It had that in the Stars fans looked like idiots because every time a star would fall down, they'd all go, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
But they were engaged. They were from start to finish. They were standing for most of the game. The atmosphere of that game was crazy. It's going to be the same way in Minnesota. Yep. Ryan Hartman, dude's playing on one leg, and I know he had all the time and space in the world in double overtime last night, but to have the patience and not panic in that moment, to take an extra 2 or 3 steps to really get himself in good position and make sure he elevated the puck for the shot. Props to Ryan Hartman, dude. That's a guy that figured it out after he left Chicago and has been a really good, valuable player for the Wild. And happy to see him get that moment, especially when it looked like he might not be able to continue to play.
Yeah, good on him.
Before we get to the elephant in the room from that game, one guy I got to give a huge shout-out for, Brock Faber. Nice game. We saw his NHL debut here just 3 NHL games under his belt. He looked great out there. Very calm. Made that amazing play in overtime where he dove and hit
the game.
The shot, Marchment was right there, wide open net. He dives, gets enough of his stick to send it up in over the glass, and then Minnesota wins. A few minutes later. Just great hockey sense from that kid. I like what I've seen so far. I mean, he's been so good that they're sitting John Klingberg, the former Star, their big trade deadline acquisition, not playing in the playoffs because Brock Faber, of all of 3 NHL games, is out playing.
Cool when that stuff happens. And before, again, the elephant, Marcus Foligno, who fought Andreas Englund in the Hawks game and turned the momentum.
Captain Red Ass.
That guy is one of those dudes where, on paper, you're like, he's a guy. But he's one of those heart and soul.
He's a Jake McCabe.
Every playoff team needs a Marcus Foligno. He was all over the place last night too. I don't know. This is going to be. I think that this is going to be the most, maybe aside from the Toronto series, this is going to be the most entertaining.
And the Colorado Avalanche is just sitting there going, "Kill each other. We'll be here waiting for you." After we dispatch the Kraken.
And it's being talked about how hard the Avalanche played in their final game of the season because they didn't want to face either of these teams in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean that they're kind of sitting up with a much better first round matchup as far as not having to face one of the buzzsaws right away. But Jay, you mentioned it. The intensity of the series and these two teams really kind of hating each other right away. A good way to do that is by taking out one of the other team's best players in a borderline play. We have experience as Blackhawks fans with that happening, not forgiving the Arizona Coyotes and Rafi Torres all that much. But the hit by Matt Dumba on Joe Pavelski has obviously been the talk of the hockey world since it was laid. And it's one of those plays where it's so borderline and it's happening in the playoffs that whether you think it was illegal or it was just fine, you're right. Because it's one of those hits where if this was in the regular season, I think it would have been litigated differently. But because it's in the playoffs, it's like we were talking before the show. Good on the refs for taking that extra time to make sure that the right penalty was assessed on the play. But I think the people that want that kind of hit to be penalized more are not wrong. But I think that is fueled by the result of the hit. If Pavelski gets up and skates away, all we're talking about is a big hit.
So,
but we're talking about one of the best players on the Stars potentially being out for maybe the whole series. We don't know yet.
What I didn't like about the hit, and the NFL outlawed this years back, is kind of the crackback feel of it.
Yeah.
Yes, the hit itself is clean, right? Like it's shoulder to chest, it's high impact, and the injury was bad and amplified everything. But if you watch like the extended replay of that hit, you can see Dumba takes a peek and sees that Pavelski's coming around, like almost like around a pick.
Yeah.
And he kind of cracks back knowing he's going to have a free shot at the guy that doesn't see him. That to me is like the intent part. There's no penalty for a crackback check. Should there be? I don't know. But it's one of these things where like it's a referee judgment call. Like was there intent to and you can't say intent to injure, but there was certainly intent to lay a big hit. Dumba knew there was an opportunity there.
Yeah.
He saw it. He knew that he was going to be screened by his teammate and came around and laid him out, and Pavelski had no shot of seeing him.
And Dumba's it's not like this is unheard of in his game. Like he's laid hits like this before.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that him as a player took that opportunity to say I'm gonna try and set a tone here with this kind of hit, and it's the playoffs. Like that's what you're going to expect to see. So yeah, I think the timing of everything, the game moves so damn fast. Like the split second decisions that players make, I don't know if he has enough time to pull up from that, knowing okay, Pavelski's let go of the puck, like. That's where the interference comes into play.
He screened himself too.
The interference penalty. But I don't know if Dumba sees the opportunity and takes that extra split second to say, okay, I'm still going to lay the hit, or if he lays off and it's really hard to reprogram some of these guys. And I understand that questionable hits, dirty hits. Those for the long-term health of players, those need to be penalized more severely, so where they're taken out of the game. But man, like if you're gonna have a different rule book in the playoffs, you kind of have to have a different perspective of hits like this that are borderline. And look, this is coming from me, who on yesterday's show said I want Joe Pavelski to win the Stanley Cup because I'm a big Joe Pavelski fan. I want him to be okay.
Yeah.
And as far as him being quote unquote okay, he is. But I don't know if he's going to play the rest of this series because he's probably dealing with, I would assume, some sort of concussion or head injury issues, and you don't come back from those in 2 days.
No, not much of an update today either.
No.
I've got the quote from Pete DeBoer. This is from Taylor Bard of NHL.com. I haven't talked to him this morning. Trainers and some of the players had contact with him. Seems okay, but we left him at home. No confirmation if Pavelski is available tomorrow. I don't see any way possible.
I'd be surprised.
My take on the hit, the only problem I had with the hit was it should have been an interference penalty. The puck was long gone. Mm-hmm. It was late. It was a second late. Otherwise, it was shoulder-to-shoulder contact. The elbow was in. He wasn't headhunting. Shoulder-to-shoulder. Yeah, he was taking advantage of a vulnerable player, but that's hockey. That happens all the time. Like, it was the hit into the shoulder that caused Pavelski's own stick to hit him in the face, which caused his head to go back, which caused his head to smack the ice first. Had the stick not come up and got him, he probably would have avoided hitting his head on the ice, maybe. But it was that reaction to the stick getting him in the face that caused him to do this as he's falling backwards, which then made it even worse.
Yeah.
Had he not gotten hurt, as you said, everybody would be like, "Oh, Matt Dumba, what a hit! Getting his team into the, that's what you got to do."
Right. Look at
The result was unfortunate. The hit, other than being about a second late, I don't have a problem with.
Yeah, it's a physical sport, and
Max Domi, the first guy there to start pummeling Matt Dumba, not a surprise. We've seen that before.
That's
he looked good last night too.
that's
by the
what
way.
he's there for.
As long as you don't,
Part of what he's there for.
if you hit one of his teammates out there, except the goalie, he will jump on you.
Yeah, Narfin says had Hartman not been between them, Pavelski would have seen the hit. And that's what I'm saying is like the crackback and the screen nature of it. Dumba knew that there was no way Pavelski was going to see him. So
many guys are the sport. They see a guy that's vulnerable, they want to take him out.
yeah,
you know,
no doubt.
So we'll see. Hopefully, Pavelski, he's a class act and a great player. Hopefully, he'll be okay here in a few days, but definitely didn't look good.
All right, let's get to the other ones quickly. Florida have a shot at all?
Because what you guys said before the show was going to happen has happened. We're 10 minutes before the end. We haven't even talked about tonight's game.
I know.
Well, the early ones were not a lot of storylines. Florida,
They've got to play perfect, and they didn't.
They were hanging with them for a while. They outshot Boston, but then they gave up that goal, and it was kind of
Boston having a flu run through the team couldn't take them down. So.
Boston literally scored a goal with the puck laying on Alex Lyon's pad, and somebody swiped it in. Like when it's your year, it's your year.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much the Panthers can do at this point to win 4 games. I don't see it happening.
I'm trying to will it with my game-worn Tuomo Ruutu HIFK jersey. Signed. Probably won't show up on the.
Oh, interesting. Signed.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
it's
one of my favorites.
It's not a restraining order, is it? It's just,
No,
it's just
that
DJ.
came later.
Tier
That came later.
I like the two ladies. Like, don't you see that on like truck mud flaps?
No, that's I believe it's Diadora. It's like a European sports logo. You see it a lot with. I saw it a lot as a kid. Playing like youth soccer.
Yeah, track pants always have them
like
on.
track pants and stuff. Yeah. So.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. This is a game-worn signed. I'll give this the short version. We were in line for the shuttle bus at a Notre Dame game, and my wife and I were talking about the Blackhawks, and the guy behind us was a sports writer from Finland. And we quickly striked up a conversation, and we've become lifelong friends, and he knows Ruutu. This was before he joined Chicago. And he brought me this game-worn jersey from Finland on his next trip out.
Yeah, so that jersey's about 2002.
Yeah, I would say so. That's about right.
So
yeah,
it's older than Connor
hot as
Bedard.
balls too. I am sweaty.
Yeah, that material. I felt the material before.
so
it is
heavy.
thick.
Yeah,
like I can't imagine. The jerseys now they're still thick, but that's like a blanket.
Well, if we ever cover a Blackhawks outdoor game, you can wear it there.
Yeah,
you'll be
that's all I'll
You'll
need.
be plenty warm.
Exactly. Who else we got to get?
Hurricanes, Islanders.
Hurricanes, Islanders. Yeah, it's kind of what we
It's going
expected.
to be a tight
right?
series.
Yeah.
The Islanders don't have the offense to pull out a 7-game. Unless, Ilya Sorokin stands on his head. But
which he could still. He'll probably steal 1 or 2.
But
I think the Hurricanes are still better.
Getting those Brent Burns, man. Woo. That guy might have been the missing piece that they've been looking for.
Yeah.
Had they still had Svechnikov and Pek's man, this team would be pick to
It'd
win
be
it all.
no
doubt.
They would have a big.
They with
big
those two
chance of
guys
beating Boston.
with those two guys minus a stud goaltender, they were about as close to a complete team as you can get.
All right, we're gonna give you our playoff predictions for the games tonight. Coming up next, stick with us. But as it's NHL playoff time, it's also NBA playoffs time. That means big hoops action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Get in on the excitement of every game with the touch of a button. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Plus, everyone can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Open the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. I'm looking here at the DraftKings app, and inspired by my good friend Rick Camp, I'm going to make this same game parlay bet. If you go to the quick same game parlay tab in the NBA tab, the Timberwolves Nuggets game, it's the Nuggets on the money line and Nikola Jokic to score a triple-double. Not huge odds. It's plus 185, but throw down a little, win a lot. That's how those same game parlays work. And you can sort of sort through, even sorted by odds, under 200, 200 to plus 1,000, 1,000 to plus 2,500, and they get more and more exotic as we go. Want to look at the longest shot odds here?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right,
Just for
exotic sports bets.
The longest shot odds I can find, plus 20,000. Nikola Jokic, 40-plus points and assists. Anthony Edwards, isn't that Goose?
40-plus points and assists?
Maybe it's combined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 40-plus points
40
and assists for Goose, Anthony Edwards. 30-plus points and assists from Jamal Murray, and 30-plus points from Karl Anthony Towns. 30-plus points and assists, rather. That's plus 20,000. So throw a buck down and win a crap ton.
That's basically like you need like 3 double-doubles from those guys.
I might as well just take $1 out of my wallet and set it on fire.
Yeah.
You'd win $201 if you made that bet. So there you go. Do it. Download the app now. Sign up with the code CHGO. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY or HOPENY, as Kevin called it the other day, 467-369. Nice. In Kansas, call 800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Whew.
Ooh. Hey.
Damn.
After all that, you need to conserve your energy. What better way when talking about energy than the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like for HVAC systems, commercial equipment, or industrial processes.
Greg, how does that work?
I'm also interested.
It works very easily because an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or, as I prefer, virtually, and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they could start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business, don't wait. We'll wait till the end of the show, but then don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For those energy-saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz, B-I-Z.
Did you say ComEd.com/poweringbiz?
You best believe it. Schedule it today.
All right, let's get through these quickly so we can go home. Rangers and Devils drop the puck at 6 o'clock Central Time on TBS. This is one of the series I'm very much looking forward to.
It's the least confident I am in any of these picks.
I agree with you. And I am finding myself really excited about the Devils.
I like them. They're
I know it's we want the Rangers to reach the Eastern Conference Final so that
some of us do.
Is it Cup Final or
Conference final.
Mm-hmm. So the Hawks get a first-round pick next year, but
don't care.
Greg just wants to watch the world burn. I've got the Devils in 7. That is wishful thinking on my part. They can do it. They can certainly do it, but I think the Rangers are the favorites for sure.
Did we have all the same picks yesterday in the series? I feel like we didn't have too many conflicting picks.
We had a couple, I think we had game differences. But
yeah,
I had Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, you had Minnesota.
Oh, we had the Stars. That was it. Yeah, this was a little bit more variety in our picks today. But I'm going with the Rangers. I really, like I said, I'm the least confident in this pick out of any series that's going on right now in the playoffs. But I'm going Rangers in 7 because I want to see as much of these two teams playing against each other as possible. The Devils are really exciting. I think this is an opportunity for guys like Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier to put themselves on the map as legitimate NHL superstars to those that have not been paying attention to the Devils this season. The Rangers, I was basically 50-50 on where to pick this series, and I went with, well, if they reach the conference final, then the pick is better for the Blackhawks, and it won't hurt watching more Patrick Kane playoff games, so I'm going to go with the Rangers in 7. The other factor for me is in net. You got Shesterkin against Vitek Vanacek, and I'm going to go with Shesterkin 10 times out of 10 in that matchup. So I got Rangers.
Yeah. No, I didn't pick the Devils just because of my hatred of the Rangers.
You lying ass.
I actually think they're the better team. Because here's why. The Rangers went out and got Tarasenko and then Patrick Kane. Guys who have won Stanley Cups before, guys, dynamic offensive players on the tail end of their career. But they're like, hey, that's what New York does. We go out and get big names. The Devils went out and got Timo Meier, who actually fits their team perfectly and makes them even more dangerous because you have the traditional power forward type guy in Meier to go in with the Jack Hughes and the Dougie Hamilton on the back end and Hischier and now Luke Hughes. I'm going to expect he's going to be playing some playoff games here. So you've got the high speed and the high skill, and now you bring in a highly skilled power forward. They're just going to come at you in waves. So while the Rangers got the big names, got the future Hall of Famers, the Devils went out and got somebody that fits their team better than Kane and Tarasenko do with the Rangers.
Next up, we've got the Lightning and Maple Leafs, 6:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. Spoilers, I have the Leafs winning the Cup. And much like you did, I think, with the Oilers yesterday, where you just do your bracket and you're like, well, that happened.
How did I get here?
I don't do my bracket backwards. I kind of just go pick my pick, and I'm like, oh, shit, I got the Leafs winning the Cup.
Yeah.
Well, tear that up and throw it away.
Thanks for your donation.
Therefore, I have the Leafs taking down the Lightning in 6 games. I think that the Leafs are kind of going to dominate this series. I just feel like it's their time. I know Tampa's great. I know they're deep. I know experience, yada, yada, yada. The Leafs, unlike last year, beefed the F up for this playoff run
for 5 years.
But you're talking about Timo Meier, right? Going to the Devils and adding exactly what they need. The Leafs did the same thing when they went out and got McCabe and Lafferty.
It's still their stars that choke under the pressure every year.
I think that they have been previously too reliant on their stars to do everything, and now they've got more weapons to help.
Yeah.
2 reasons why I picked the Tampa Bay to win in 7 is because there's no pressure on Tampa Bay in this series.
That's true.
They have won the Eastern Conference 3 years in a row, 2 Stanley Cups. All the pressure in the world is on the Leafs. The second things start going bad, it's here we go again.
True.
How do they prevent that? So the Leafs should have beat Tampa Bay last year. They had that series won, and they pissed their pants like they do every year. And until the Maple Leafs actually beat somebody with this group, I will pick against them until they do something. So, yes, they got bigger and stronger. Ryan O'Reilly, Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty adds an element, but it's still going to come down to Marner and Matthews. And look what their power play did last year. It was awful, and that cost them the series. It still has to come down to the Stars to get them over this hump. And maybe if they get past this round, things will fall in place, and this will be the run that everybody suspects. Or maybe this is just a bunch of team of chokers that are never going to do it, and it's time to blow it up. We'll find out.
They should blow it up and trade everyone to the Hawks.
I'm fine. Sure. We can afford it. But
rebuild over.
Until the Leafs actually beat somebody, I'm going to bet against them. And part of me wants to see it again because I enjoy when they fail. I enjoy the misery that comes out of it.
Yeah,
World
burner, Greg.
Hey, listen, if you're obnoxious when you win, I enjoy it when you lose.
Yep. Those are all valid points. But I have the Leafs in 6. I think I'm trying to look at this and say the Leafs are better than they were last year, and Tampa isn't. And that's what I'm making this pick with. I'm trying to
Sound
keep
logic.
all the Leafs voodoo out of it, but it's very hard to do it. So I'm saying Leafs in 6. If they fail at all, I will not be surprised. And I just want Jake McCabe to be happy. So.
Yeah. Drink some Coors Light out of that Stanley Cup.
Absolutely.
Favorite beverage. Let's get to the series that no one cares about. The Golden Knights and the Jets. I'm sorry. Am I lying?
No.
Is this the least interesting series, everybody?
Yes.
It's because it's Winnipeg. Like, they're just...
Hey, it's a rematch of the 2018 Western Conference Finals.
And who could forget that?
Yeah. When I kept hearing that, I was like, oh, yeah, the Jets were in the final.
They mentioned that on the 32 Thoughts while I was out for my walk today. I was like, oh, yeah, the Jets did make it to the conference finals that year. I totally forgot. This is the last hurrah for that group in Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has to be.
I think I picked them to win, right, Sarah? Could you put the graphic back up? I forgot.
I was kind of
Yes,
surprised.
you did.
Yeah,
to see
Jets in
In
6.
6.
that. I would love to see that because I don't like the Golden Knights either. But, I mean.
I feel like that happens if Connor Hellebuck steals 3 games.
Yeah.
Which he could.
Yeah, he could.
Or if
anyone can.
Or if
O'Connor can.
Logan Thompson kind of folds under the pressure of being in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's been great all season. They got Jonathan Quick as an insurance policy there, who's been good since coming to Vegas. But, yeah, I just don't see Winnipeg. Winnipeg is in the playoffs because Calgary wanted to get their coach fired. It's plain and simple. The Jets were the.
If they were the Predators, they'd raise a banner.
They were the Jets were the
fired.
winner ass Jets for the entire second half of the season. They didn't want it.
Yep.
They built a huge lead. They would look like one of the best teams in the league through Thanksgiving, and then things started. Like their own coach was like, "These guys don't give a shit.
Yeah, just
what do you want me to do?"
Yeah.
Two different
Paul
halves.
Maurice walked away because he's like, "I can't do anything with these guys.
Yeah.
These guys suck."
2 halves of a season with the Jets, and that's why I'm going with Vegas. In 6, they get Mark Stone back. That's a big deal. And yeah, I just think that the Jets sputtered into the playoffs, and I don't think that's the team you want to try and say like, oh yeah, they're going to turn it around and flip the switch. Like they were Central Division leaders at one point and just got into the postseason.
Because they were there more because Calgary choked than
So
the Jets
I don't have a lot of faith in them. They, to your point, like they're a team that should have all the pieces to be good. It's just for some reason they consistently can't put it together in a meaningful way. So I'm going with Vegas.
Okay. I'm offended.
I'd love your pick to come true.
Yeah, I couldn't
I just
care
don't
less.
see it happen.
Look, and you know the Winnipeg atmosphere in postseason is tremendous. So if you got a couple rounds of that as a viewing fan,
Hey,
that'd be cool.
A Winnipeg Oilers matchup in round 2 would be fun.
Yeah, it would.
An all-Canadian matchup.
They should get Alexei Zhamnov out there to blow the horn or shoot the jet steam or something to fire up those jets.
Shoot the jet steam. Is that
Or
what they
they or they roll out Keith Kachuk.
do? Roll them out.
They can pay them in sausage and beer.
Well, I
Why
would do
not?
it. All right, last up. This one I'm excited about too, even though I don't have much hope for the Kraken. Kraken at Avalanche, 9 o'clock tonight on ESPN. I mean, look, the Kraken are very deep. They just do not have the firepower to keep up with Colorado.
Or the goaltending.
That
The
is a
Goaltending's
problem
a
as
big
well.
problem.
Yes.
Big
The
problem.
worst goaltending in the playoffs.
Yeah. Grubauer is going to start for Seattle, and doesn't matter.
I mean, he knows the Avs.
Sure.
Yeah,
And they know him. And they
Yeah,
said,
true.
He couldn't,
goodbye.
He couldn't keep the job there. Either.
Right.
So I have this is the only. It's super hard to predict sweeps in a Stanley Cup playoffs, but this is the series I'm doing it.
Last year with the Avs, you could see it. This year, I think Seattle is got more to offer the Avalanche as an opponent this year than the Predators did last year. So I have the Avalanche in 5. This is still a very dominant Avs team. Even without Gabriel Landeskog, like they're going to be dangerous. You can pencil them into the Western Conference Final pretty confidently. So I got Avs in 5.
I have the Avs in 6. Just because I think the Kraken are spunky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be fun to see playoff hockey in Seattle for the first time.
The Avs are playing their best hockey of the season heading into the playoffs, which is always good. And I just don't see any combination of Martin Jones or Philip Grubauer doing enough to even win a game. I don't see it.
Or they play them both at the same time.
Sure.
Now what?
Why not?
What's your answer to that, mister?
They lose 3-1 instead of 5-1.
Fair enough.
By the way, Logan Thompson is not playing for the Golden Knights. It's Laurent Brosson.
Former
Jet.
Jets goalie.
Yes, I misspoke. Logan Thompson not healthy enough to play.
Is it game 1 or for the series?
Just for game 1,
Okay.
it says here. It's going to be Brosson in there for the Golden Knights.
Good name. Good hockey name. Laurent Brosson and Laura Dolphin. Larry Dolphin. All right, let's wrap up. We went over an hour, I told you.
You guys thought it was going to be 50 minutes, and I laughed.
Whenever He Who Shall Not Be Named comes out, the conversation gets extended.
We should stop talking about that.
We should. That package is on its way to
shipped
Pittsburgh.
it to Pittsburgh Express.
Enjoy your Iron City beer and Scrapple sandwich or whatever they call it out there.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We are back tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll talk to you then. Reminder, we are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Smash that like button for us on the way out. We'll talk to you Wednesday at 2 on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.